As pilgrims we've journeyed, for we have been told the world is my parish. Come answer the call. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu.
Well, here we are in Moscow, Russia, former Soviet Union, and I've got a former Soviet Union hat on, it's appropriate with Russia. Behind me you have a beautiful panorama of Moscow, and behind us, the other side, we'll probably take a shot of that later, is the University of Russia, State University, which is the largest university in Russia. This morning we opened the conference, the World Congress of Youth, at the Cosmos Hotel in Moscow, and was very well attended. Last night I was very impressed. When I arrived in Russia first, when we first got here, my first impressions were how dirty it was and how poor. We passed through a very poor section of Moscow, and we went to the hotel. It took us forever to get, about 2 hours to check in, with 1,000 people obviously. We went to dinner, and I was amazed. They were giving out rosary beads and scapulars to the Russians. The waiters were lining up to get rosaries and scapulars. Very, very impressed. The brown scapulars they thought were little icons. And this morning when I came down to get in the bus to go to the Cosmos Hotel for the convention, I saw a Russian driver sitting at the wheel of the bus. It was actually praying the rosary. He had a little prayer card there they gave him in Russian, and he was learning to pray the rosary. So they're very, very hungry for faith here and religion. It's very, very impressive. This is our first day. Actually, yesterday was our first day if you count. By the time we got checked in, it was rather late, but this is our first full day here. And tomorrow again we'll be in Moscow for the continuation of the Congress of Youth. From there we move on to St. Petersburg. I'll see you again from St. Petersburg. Thanks for tuning in.
From every corner of the world they came, young adults wrestling with problems in the family, in society and in the church. This is a spiritual conference directed at the youth of the world through the Catholic Church. The religious meeting of young people is not new as a concept. But this conference was held in Moscow, the former center of communist atheism. Russia's religious conversion takes some time. The people have been taught since birth that there is no God. Those who believed otherwise were publicly ridiculed and persecuted. The communists taught the people to worship the state. It was their God and provided everything to its people. Now, their God is gone. And there seems to be a bewildered sense of deception in the Russian people, so they are warm and friendly to those who come to plant new seeds of hope. Young people from more than 120 countries converged on Moscow in October of 1992 to pay respect to the Virgin Mary and to offer spiritual assistance to Russian people. They see their mission in Russia as a fulfillment of prophecy made by the Virgin Mary in 1917 to 3 children in Fatima, Portugal. During an apparition at that time, she told the children,
"If my requests are heard, Russia will be converted and an era of peace will be granted to mankind."
But at that very time, across Europe, Our Lady was appearing to 3 children, mentioning Russia. And she said, if her requests are heard, Russia will change, and a nearer peace will come. A nearer peace will come to mankind. See, these 2 things are linked together. That's why this peace flight is called a peace flight, because Our Lady promised not just a change in Russia, that freedom of religion would come back to Russia, but an era of peace for mankind. That is the unfolding promise of Fatima, which will certainly come true. It's a definite promise of Our Lady. My Immaculate Heart will triumph. Russia will be converted, and a nearer peace will be granted to mankind.
We know practically nothing about Our Lady.
but what is so significant about the Youth Conference? In Fatima 45 years ago, the Youth Congress convened with the intention of praying for the conversion of Russia as one of its primary objectives. But by praying a rosary and offering other sacrifices for the Russian people, the Virgin Mary said Russia would be converted and religious persecution would end. 45 years later, a different Youth Congress dedicated to the Virgin Mary has seen this promise come true.
It's been proposed that the statue should go to Red Square and that the youth should take it.
This is the Pilgrim Virgin statue of Fatima, Portugal. It was commissioned by a Youth Congress in Fatima in May 1947 to be an ambassador for the Virgin Mary. Since then it has traveled the world in hope that one day it would find its way into the heart of Russia and her people. Tonight, across from Lenin's tomb in Red Square, a Russian girl baptized a Catholic 2 weeks ago will symbolically crown the Virgin Mary as Queen of all Russia for the very first time.
I'll tell you what impresses me. I really think there's something very profound about this whole experience, something far-reaching, far beyond the mechanics and you know, the actual actions and the actual things we saw and did, tasted and smelled and heard. There's something very profound about it all. But the triumph of Our Lady.
Worse downpour at night than it was in the morning, absolutely drenched, which kind of reminds you of the Fatima Day itself, and you've got shots of that too. And so then, the clock struck 12. I think we were at the 3rd or the 4th decade of the Rosary, and someone suggested, wouldn't it be nice to crown Mary at midnight? And so, at that particular moment, as soon as we said that, there was a changing of the guard, which is also on tape, and you can see. And so when the guard was changed, the moment then a young Russian teenager, who had only been a Catholic for 2 weeks, had the privilege of crowning Mary in her own country. It seems like Mary wanted a Russian teenager, a brand new Catholic. showing a changing of the guard from the old communist youth to the new Catholic youth. And I saw much symbolism in that.
Von heute ist Russland Eigentum Mariens.
From today on, Russia belongs to our Blessed Mother.
We finished the rosary. As we finished, the rain began to let up. I thought it was letting up, and I saw people around me putting their umbrellas down. But as I looked around in the lights, I could see that it was still raining quite heavily. And being the guardian of the statue, I didn't want to put my umbrella down and have her get soaked. And one of the other fellows told me to put the statue down. And I discovered that there was no rain falling over us, although I could still see it around us.
We see Christ in them. They can see Christ in us.
Public celebration of the Holy Mass in Russia has been rare until very recently. These priests from around the world are celebrating some of the first Catholic Masses in Russia in decades.
When supper was ended, he took the cup. Again he gave you thanks and praise. Gave the cup to his disciples and said, "Take this, all of you, and drink from it. This is the cup of my blood, the blood of the new and everlasting covenant. It will be shed for you and for all, so that sins may be forgiven. Do this in memory of me."
Let us proclaim a mystery of faith.
Of course, one could think that since we have got the freedom, they could forget about us, but it is not. It is not so. We do need people's prayer. We do need people's assistance. Of course, it is natural that we have expectations. Once we have freedom, we want to exist as any other normal church would like to exist. And here, this is exactly where we need the help to build up the churches, to become self-sufficient in religious publishing, to be able to train our own priests and lay people also for lay apostolate, to be able to care for the poor, to be able to share with the poor whatever little we have. All these problems we have to solve, to create appropriate structures to be able to do all this normal church ministry. And I'm afraid we can do very little now without people's help from outside.
It took us so much faith for us young people way back in the Philippines to trust in the promise of the Blessed Mother. That in spite of the difficulties that we are experiencing in the world, peace is possible if we follow her requests. And it took us so much pain to propagate the message of Our Lady back home. And we never thought that she would ask us to promote her to all the world. We couldn't just think that it would be possible, but we were always been encouraged. You are the hope of the church. You are the hope of the society. Do your best, and God will do the rest.
75 years have passed. So many changes have been wrought. So many problems remained unresolved. But only one voice remains, and that voice is echoing. O Immaculate Virgin Mary, take our hearts and mold them after your Son's hearts. We place ourselves entirely into your hands. We are ready with your help to do everything in order to please God. O Mary, our Mother, our hope, our light, our consolation, please pray for us.
Through their 3 days of debate and deliberation, the World Youth Congress came up with the following resolutions. First, resistance to all efforts to legalize or encourage abortion, contraception and divorce. Second, to implement the requirements of the peace plan given to the children of Fatima by the Virgin Mary. Third, to make the Alliance of the Hearts of Jesus and Mary a special feast in the Church, and to take St. Joseph as a personal model of union with the Sacred Hearts. Fourth, encourage devotion to First Friday and First Saturday's celebrations. And finally, to encourage daily communal reparation.
I don't know, just sharing our religion, it makes our religion come more alive.
How did you like the youth conference?
It was different, but it was wonderful. I mean, to see people coming from all over the world and really believing in their faith, it's wonderful. It's so exciting.
For the point proposal, we have 2 conditional, 5 abstain, 24 no, 106 yes.
Is this really prophecy in fulfillment, or simply another meeting of young religious people? That question will be answered by each heart of the individual youth delegates, and by time itself.
I don't think anyone that was there could say that this was just a very, placid, non-exciting event. They would have to say that the tenor of the joy and the excitement was overwhelming. Overwhelming.
The Red Square was very special. Just the thought of being in Red Square, publicly praying, singing, processing with Our Lady's statue, something no one dreamt of as short a time ago as 2 or 3 years ago.
Most of my life I felt just a responsibility about Fatima. From the time I first went there and prayed at the Capellina, I suddenly realized, gee, our Blessed Mother has promised the conversion of Russia and world peace. And at that time, when I went there, it was less than a year after the atom bomb exploded in Japan. You know, we were dumbfounded by this power that was unleashed. As Truman said, the power of the sun has been harnessed by man. And I realized that the danger of the world and this new age, as Jean Guiton says, it's the hinge of history. All the history before the atom bomb is one thing, and the history after it's going to be, it's a hinge, a dividing line in history. And to think that Our Lady intervened at this particular point. She spoke of annihilation of several entire nations. But if my requests are heard, Russia will be converted and an era of peace will be granted to mankind. And I suddenly realized nobody's doing much about it. You know, and that stuck with me all these years. A tremendous sense of responsibility. I think that's outweighed any kind of feelings, you know, about, gee, it's nice to be involved, or, you know.
I was overwhelmed with the friendliness of the Russians. I've never met more friendly people. But what blew me away was when I saw our people had armed with thousands and thousands of rosary beads and scapulars. Everybody, men and women, were handing out rosaries and little tracts explaining how to say the rosary in Russian. And the people were absolutely, you would think they were giving away gold bars. Tell them to say, God bless you, America.
Hello.
Say, God bless you. God bless you, America.
God bless you.
Morgan, wave goodbye.
Bye. Bye.
Did you enjoy this tape? Did you find it inspiring? Would you like others to share in that inspiration? Well then, be a partner with us, because these tapes are viewer supported. You can obtain a copy by writing to the above address.
Maria.